And welcome once again to another episode of the Horizon Roundtable. I am Bob McDonald, and you can find me on Twitter at Bob McDonald. And joining me, of course, is my co-host Matt Dudek.
Hey there, everybody.
And Matt, you can find on Twitter at GrizzTalkOU, and you can follow the podcast on Twitter as well at HorizonRT, and on Facebook at Horizon Roundtable. And today we've got Karic Jones with us, a very fired up Karic Jones, who's one of our regular contributors on HorizonRoundtable.com, and he was at the game. He was at the game on Saturday against Eastern Michigan, which I guess you shouldn't be surprised. Like every other team on Saturday, except for UIC, lost. And it was going so well. Tuesday was such a high water mark because you had Wright State beat Western Kentucky, and they did such a great job, and then they turn around and lose in overtime, and to Indiana State, and Cleveland State forgot how to shoot again. Oakland and Youngstown State lost squeakers. Youngstown State I think got hosed. But Karic, I know you've been watching kind of what's going on with Detroit Mercy for most of the non-conference slate, and what exactly is going on at Detroit Mercy?
It's weird, man, because there are times where they look like, they can really put this together. They got some pieces, and then there's times where you wonder what the hell they're doing. Sometimes I legitimately wonder why he being Mike Davis allows his team to shoot themselves in and out of rhythm. I mean, you look at their game against Cal Irvine. Cal Irvine's a solid team. That could be a team
and their only win.
Yeah, and it's their only win.
And who did Irvine beat? Eastern Michigan this year.
Right. Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
So you look at that. Louisiana Lafayette, I get it, playing back-to-backs, but you only get one day off in conference play. So you lost a back-to-back, that's not really an excuse to me. The Kent State and Ohio games, there were stretches they looked really good. Looked really good in the first half against Kent State, got blown out of the water in the second half. Looked really good in the second half against Ohio, came back from down 30, still lost the game. So I don't know what's going on. Brad Calipari is a pleasant surprise. Moore has been really solid all year. He's playing, averaging 36 minutes. He had a double-double yesterday, 10 rebounds and 12 points. But they got to find rhythm and consistency, and Mike Davis put it real well in his press conference. He said, if AD continues to try to drive and take the hits he's doing, he's not going to be able to shoot at the end of the game. And that was the problem, is he was jacking up crazy shots yesterday because he was banged up. He couldn't get in rhythm, and they don't trust to give the ball to anybody else.
Well, okay, so I have some questions for you, Karic. So, not to, so you mentioned AD driving the lane. Man, if I'm not mistaken, I actually watched that game. Yesterday was I'm not a big football guy, so I imagine that's what football guys are like, where they just sit there and flip through football games all day. That was me yesterday watching Horizon basketball, which was really depressing at the end of the day.
It really sounds like it, yeah.
but nonetheless, here we are. But AD, he started shooting like that from the get-go. I'm not buying this excuse that he was tired and beat up because he'd been driving the lane. That seems to be the offense. It's hold the ball, dribble around for a bit, and then see the best look that AD can get. Well, and nobody seems in the flow of it outside of AD. Am I missing something?
Yeah, I think, and Davis, talking off the record yesterday was saying, and on the record, having BJ Maxwell back is going to be big for them because that lets them move Antoine to the 2. And he really likes he likes to run a lineup where he's got 4 guards and some semblance of a big, whether that's Moore is just playing as a forward on the low block, or they got Chris Brandon or Justin Miller, who I'm not going to lie, in person does not look like a college basketball player. I am a fat person, and I'm concerned for Justin Miller.
Wow.
I do not
man.
I don't know. He seems like a really nice kid on Twitter and everything, but he does not look like a college basketball player. And Davis addressed it in the press conference. He said, he's still working on his conditioning, and it's almost January.
Well, are you? I mean, well, think about this for a second. He was probably remember Justin Miller got a transfer waiver, and I'm guessing he didn't expect that.
Yeah,
I'm going to venture to guess that's the case.
But that means he's been playing as a Division I athlete like that for a couple of years.
Well,
you don't get like that
I'll
over
say about him. And I sat yesterday with a guy works at the middle school I teach at, who's coached high school basketball and writes for Fansided, and he was amazed at the kid's basketball IQ. There was multiple times where it looked like someone on Detroit Mercy was going to throw the ball away, and Justin Miller made the smart play to grab it, kick it back out, or make a rebound, call a timeout. He's clearly, when he's out there, one of the smartest guys on the floor. It's just his conditioning is not there. And then Willie is not a inside player.
No,
he is a 3 at most. He looked super uncomfortable yesterday at the end when they threw in this weird 3-point lineup with Jordan Gorman, the walk-on, who is fast and he can shoot the lights out if his feet are set and open. He had 2 really deep threes yesterday. Davis, Willie, and then they had Brad and somebody else out there, but the other guy wasn't there to shoot. I think it might have been Moore. They were all just kind of,
I think it was Moore,
standing on the perimeter, hoping somebody got open. And they did a really well shooting over Eastern Zone, but when they went to man, it's like they didn't know what to do. So
I have to ask this question: Did Detroit, and we were speculating about this on Twitter, Detroit didn't hit a 2-point
basket in the second half. They did not. I'm looking at the box score.
It was all
right now.
3-pointers. Holy
no
crap.
2-point basket. 2-point. Can't talk. 2-point baskets in the second half. And it was 10 minutes and 39 seconds that Eastern didn't hit a field goal and still managed to win the game. They had some free throws in there.
If all you're doing is, I'm dumbfounded by that. How that was the game plan was, try to hit as many threes as you can, and this, Detroit Mercy isn't exactly the best 3-point shooting team in the Horizon League, but to completely abandon, I didn't see a single, I think I saw maybe 1 or 2 layups attempted. That was it.
Yeah.
And if you got somebody like Justin Miller who's on the floor, and he's not a 3-point shooter.
Well, he actually can shoot. I think he's only recruited people who can shoot threes.
Really? Huh.
Justin Miller had 4 threes a few nights ago.
So really, that tells us the game plan for Detroit Mercy is going to be to outshoot somebody. And when they're shooting 20% from the field and 30% from 3, they are going to win some games where they just get hot and hit. And Antoine Davis, we know how good he can be. They're going to win occasionally, but they are not set up to succeed. The difference in those things. And this team is going to look bad 9 out of 10 games, but then they're going to surprise a Northern Kentucky, an Oakland, a Wright State, somewhere where they just get hot and they hit.
I don't think they're going to be that bad because he's having them play really good defense, and for a small athletic team, they gang rebound really well. They out-rebounded Eastern, who was much bigger than them. But I think they have to either be able to find Miller inside, or one of their many guard options needs to drive, whether it's Antoine, whether it's Rose coming off the bench. It looked to me like Maxwell, kind of comfortable driving, kind of not. He's super big. He's legitimately a 6'6" point guard. And he's from that thumb injury. Davis was telling us in the press conference he's not fully back to feeling comfortable catching the ball on lobs or defending, and that's why you saw that dunk at the end of the game. But credit to Ty Gross from Eastern. He's a monster. That's somebody U of D and Oakland both whiffed on. He's an absolute monster. And EMU's, they got some big guys inside, but that EMU team should not be 8-1. They are not an 8-1 quality team, but they got 3 or 4 non-D1s on the schedule. I think the bigger thing is,
that seems to be kind of a trend with. Well, this week was kind of specifically because each Horizon League team basically got all the MAC schools with only 1 loss. Detroit Mercy had to play Eastern Michigan. Cleveland State had to play Kent State. Didn't do so well. I believe Bowling Green has only lost one too. Lost the game.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's like, I mean, yeah.
And then
we talk about. I mean, we talk about this matchup between the MAC and the Horizon League. We've talked about that all season, and we've constantly, that's kind of been a running theme on the podcast. And yesterday was like, the MAC looked like they were, they were better. That's
exactly what we said last week, Bob. Was we talked about, we're not better than the Summit, and the MAC has made us look bad this week. I mean, Oakland
awful.
But yesterday was terrible.
Yesterday was particularly bad.
The MAC has football money. They have nicer facilities, and if I'm, a fringe player that's right between high major and mid major, especially if I don't have wonderful grades, I'm going to a MAC school.
Which is interesting because the MAC is probably only going to have is probably still a one bid league, which is even crazier about that. Good. I don't know. Yeah, well, Toledo is pretty good.
Toledo team makes the tournament, I would put 20 on them going to the Sweet 16. That's a very good shooting team.
But in terms of development, it looks like the MAC is really leaps and bounds ahead of the Horizon League. I mean, you're not seeing kind of the down year. I mean, you don't see the down years in the MAC top to bottom. You don't see, and it's so much. It just maybe it's just me. Maybe it's because I see MAC, the MAC all the time based on where I currently live, being right in the middle of where Akron and Kent State and Bowling, in Ohio. I don't know. It just seems like it seems like what is the Horizon League got to do to get to that level again? I mean, we've been asking that question forever as well, and I don't have a good answer for that.
I think stop adding institutions like IPFW and IUPUI, losing Valpo, and even losing Valpo was a blow, but
replacing them with IUPUI.
When the U of D guys say this, but losing a school like Loyola, yes, they were god awful in our league, no doubt about it.
They truly were.
They have the money, they have the endowment, and they moved up to a different league, and now they're a solid. I mean, they went to a Final Four. They've been solid since.
Yeah,
true. Look at some of the other schools in the MVC. Look at a school like Bradley or SIU or even SIUE. These are state schools that have money. They're new and booming like OU is. But even the MAC schools in Michigan, I'm sorry, they haven't added new things to Eastern or Central in years.
No, in fact, Eastern has been getting lambasted for dropping sports while keeping their semi-competitive football team that nobody cares about.
Right. That they have this huge arena and this huge football stadium that never get filled.
No.
But back to Detroit Mercy for a second. I was very angry until I actually got to talk to Mike Davis.
You sounded like it.
It's frustrating because it looks a lot like they have more pieces now than maybe they did those last 2 years of the McCallum era, where they had pieces. But I love Juwan, I love CB. Those two weren't the pieces they needed. Chris Jenkins, great guy, good basketball player, not going to take you to the tournament. He's not.
So I got to be honest, Karic. I don't see it, and granted, I don't. I understand what you're saying, where coach talks you off the cliff, because Campy does that for me constantly. I get it, but as the outsider, just trying to watch to understand that team more, they just look like they're unrecruited, they're uncoached. It's bad.
I get where you're coming from. I legitimately think Moore and Chris Brandon will be good mid-major basketball players. I don't know about Bo.
And let's not forget one other thing, too. And, they're still under the APR ban, so that's got to be limiting them in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, I mean, from what I heard, I didn't go to the luncheon. Robert Vowles feels confident they're going to win their appeal whenever that is.
Well, good
And
Lord, it's
frankly,
it's freaking December. When are they
I
going
don't
to get?
think him or coach care.
Yeah. Well, why would they? I mean,
Now,
it doesn't matter. Right?
What I don't understand is if they thought there was a smidge of not winning that, why in the free world would you not make Justin Miller redshirt either way?
I don't know. Good question.
Yeah. And the guys they brought in, and I know I haven't talked to you guys about the two guys they signed.
Yeah.
Joey Liddell, he's from like right on the border of Michigan and Ohio. He has a lot of Travis Bader on.
Huh,
He's a lot smaller. He's not going to be able to swing low on the wings because he's barely 6 foot tall. But I mean, in the state championship game, granted it's D3, so Matt would know, but for everybody else and for you, Bob, it's like schools, 300 kids to 600-ish.
Okay.
So smaller schools. I mean, he's hitting against a very good Southfield Christian. I believe they played Southfield Christian. I could be wrong. I know they were playing a inner city school with some D1 and 2 talent. He's hitting threes from the Spartan logo at Breslin like it's going out of style.
Really? Wow.
And then the point guard they bring in from Cass Tech, his dad was a 4-year starter All-American at Ferris State. He looks solid. He looks like somebody that could not only distribute the ball but slash for them. No word on the big Egyptians that are supposedly going to show up.
You know who?
Yes.
You know who he reminds me of, Karic?
Who's that?
He reminds me. It sounds kind of like you're explaining Jermaine Jackson, who went off for 29 points for LIU the other night.
Yeah. Well, I mean.
Well, so I'm glad to see that Jermaine Jackson finally reappeared, even though
I'm glad him and Jack are playing. I have no problem with the kids.
Oh, I know.
My problem is, and I mean, it's well in the basketball community here that Jermaine Sr. might not be a bad person, has a way of burning bridges. I'm sad Junior's not here, but at the same time, it's give and take, and
yeah, of course,
it is what it is. I can understand why they went the direction they did, but
sure.
Matt, I get where you're coming from. I just think I like Calipari's kid, man. I think he can be, a straight up shooter. He plays hard. I wouldn't say he's the greatest defender. Doesn't really have an inside game. I don't think all of the guys Davis brought in his first year are busts. Like I said, like Moore a lot. I think Moore could develop into an all-conference player. Chris Brandon has the legacy. His John Lucas is his uncle. He's been with Antoine for 4 or 5 years playing together. He has flashes, as you've both probably seen watching him, of, man, this guy could be one of these lanky post guys we get in the Horizon League because the big guys don't come here that can be effective. But yeah, I mean, I can see definitely there's a talent gap. I'm not sure what they're doing with Rose Jr. I haven't seen the allure of him or LeGrand at all. I like Willie, but he's a hot and cold guy. I think that Mike Davis his not spending money on going recruiting probably has hindered him so far. But the other thing is that a lot of the other coaches in the league, especially Darner and Campy, have, and apparently the new guy at Northern Kentucky they're pulling out gems like crazy.
Horn, yeah. That's
and,
true. Didn't really help Green Bay yesterday, but then again, it didn't help nobody. Like I said, everybody not named UIC lost. So I saw. Now we're off Detroit Mercy because I have a little bit more time. Yeah.
Are UIC's guys back? What's going on there?
Okay. Still no Marcus Oddie. I think he's still hurt, but everybody else looks and Jordan Blunt is still out. But everybody else is still there. And apparently yesterday they didn't shoot terribly. And they won 2 games in a row.
That's not true. Tarkus Ferguson is still somehow he's still less effective this year than Antoine Davis is. But he went 1 for 9 yesterday.
Wow!
And he must be shooting 15% on the year. It's bad, and yet he's a lot of shots.
You got to think if they don't turn it around, that guy's getting fired.
Oh no, he's getting fired.
I think he's getting fired either way, but that's
we've come to that conclusion. He's Yeah,
because
it's the off season. This non-conference season schedule has been just a wreck for them, and to do that with a new AD looking at you,
with a senior
that's no
leading
bueno.
team, and you're a former high major coach that has clearly proven he can recruit. Yeah, he's probably gone. Yeah. I would really like someone not named Wright State or Kentucky to win the league this year, but the closer we get to conference play,
I don't know.
How does Wright State keep hiring good coaches? Can we talk about that for a second?
Bob Grant actually pays attention to who's good.
I mean, it wasn't a surprise that was a great hire, and it's worked out very well. I mean, the Indiana State loss wasn't great, but I mean, overall, they're having a good season, and hopefully Love is back soon. He's cornrow list, by the way. I don't know if you saw that tweet.
I did not see it yet. I haven't seen it.
He has lost the cornrows based on what I saw on that picture. That's a positive. So maybe
that's like Norris Cole losing the flat top, man. That's just I don't know how I'm going to react to that.
It looked.
Speaking of Norris Cole, I was thinking the other morning, getting ready for work, of Horizon League players still playing in the NBA. The only one I could think, he's not. Darn.
He's playing in Monaco right now. He's actually got a YouTube YouTube show talking about him playing in Monaco.
There's that one guy.
He lasted longer than McCallum in the league, though.
Oh yeah, he did. Oh, absolutely. I know he did.
So I think he's the longest one right now. Besides, does Gordon Hayward count?
Technically Gordon Hayward still counts. He was a Horizon League guy, so technically he still counts.
That Kendrick Nunn guy's doing all right.
Yeah,
that Kendrick guy really is.
He's playing pretty well.
Eastern Conference Rookie of the Month that's good, right? I don't follow the NBA, but I have to imagine it's pretty good, right?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. I mean, I've heard about him, and I would if you bought me a Kendrick Nunn jersey that's their new Miami Vice variety, I would probably wear it around.
If I bought myself one, I also would wear it around.
I would also take anybody from Duke that's on their team. I don't know who plays for the Heat because I don't follow the NBA. I've adopted the Clippers, and I don't even know who's on the roster.
Kendrick Nunn is. I know that. It's about where I end.
I don't know. This is how much I've been paying attention.
So what is going on at IUPUI?
Oh man, did the wheels fall off? Did the wheels come off the bus for them? Holy cow! I thought for sure that they would be doing a lot better than they are, and they're just getting embarrassed. I swear to God, and I said this I tweeted this out on the Horizon Roundtable account yesterday. I didn't think that there would be as bad an embarrassing loss as Cleveland State's getting destroyed by Florida International yesterday. IUPUI against Ball State. It was horrible.
Ball State.
I watched that game. I watched part of that game too, and I could not believe my eyes as to how awful IUPUI was, and I couldn't understand it.
Ball State, who lost to Western Illinois at home at one point, but who beat UIC pretty handedly, and beat Indiana State, who just beat Wright State. So again, transitive property. It's but I always enjoy seeing who's played who and who you match up. And that IUPUI loss is just horrendous. And
they're not even. I mean, Ball State isn't exactly. Ball State isn't setting the world on fire. They're not that max. They're not a Toledo or a Kent State where they're. They're a max school that's like 4. They were 500. They were a 500 ball club, and they just beat the brakes off of the Jaguars. It was ridiculously bad.
And here's what you have to know. We've talked about how bad is the Horizon versus the MAC, and if the bottom of the MAC is putting 50 on the bottom of the Horizon, that's bad. But yesterday, Western, who's also towards Western Michigan, who's towards the bottom, they put it on Youngstown State. They beat so that's a mid. Youngstown's probably a mid-tier Horizon. Yeah. Western's a bottom MAC, and Western won. Oakland beat Western, but it wasn't by a lot. That pretty much that tells you about where things are at. The middle of the.
That is insane. I have nightmares about this. I'm having nightmares. I'm gonna have nightmares about that IUPUI game. Just as I was getting over my nightmares for over the Cleveland State loss to Florida International. And by the way, I thank them for winning 3 games in a row to erase that from my memory. But man, I don't, and I can't, and honestly, I'm looking at the box score and I'm trying to figure out what on earth. I mean, they shot 30%. I mean, Jalen Manette shot 6 for 12. Grant Weatherford shot 4 for 8. But everybody else just pretty much couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. Marcus Burke was off. I mean, he only made 2 shots. He only played 24 minutes and made 2 shots. It was probably the worst. Yeah, I mean, it blows me away how bad it was, and it was as bad as the first half was. The second half was even worse.
In the little bit I watched when I was flipping around, they just didn't have any interest in playing defense, and it clearly shows in the box score too. I mean, I don't think Ball State usually shoots 55% from and 44 from 3. But IUPUI, they seemed so disinterested. I could have played on the floor for them yesterday, and I have no interest in that. That's how those players
I'm
look.
surprised they didn't call you up. I mean, and again, it was the second half, which was just the second half of the game. Ball State dropped 62 on them. 62. I mean, I don't know what IUPUI's plan for next year is, but they got to have a better one than this. And man, I don't understand. I mean, it blows me away how bad that team is right now.
Now, did they get hit with transfers when the coach left, or what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just Calvin Temple.
They lost their best
but
player.
they actually had transfer. They had Cameron Justice leave before Jason Gardner got busted and ended up getting fired. And then Calvin Temple, who was supposed to come in, ended up going somewhere else. I can't remember where. Somewhere closer to where he lives. But I mean, but I thought I really thought for sure Marcus Burke was going to be the answer, and there are so many different. I really thought that IUPUI wasn't as bad as because they have some solid guys. It's just not coming together for them at all.
What we need to do, Bob, is we need to bring an IUPUI fan in to talk about this. Unfortunately, they don't seem to have any.
No. We've been begging for an IUPUI fan for what? 2 years now to come on. The only one we ever. I'm sorry. What's that now?
Aren't the mid-major madness people that always fight with Matt on Twitter?
It's Chris Schutte. He's literally the only one.
But he's not of his own school.
And no, he is. He's just never available when I try to get him on. But I mean, I can't keep going to the Chris Schutte well. There's got to be one other guy, and there never is.
I mean, hell, we found at least 2 other Detroit Mercy fans outside of Karic, so IUPUI's got to have someone outside of Chris Schutte.
That's true.
So, fun comment from the UDM game yesterday.
Yeah.
I walked in, and I looked to a few of the guys I hadn't seen in a few years since I had not been working media. I said, man, there always used to be a little bit more. The Bakari are really, knocked. And, we've had a lot of the hardcore older guys that passed away in the last few years.
Yeah.
You get up to the press conference. You know what the first thing Mike Davis says is?
What's that?
Man, that place looked about a third full. Good night. And I looked at the guy next to me. I go, Mike Davis clearly hasn't seen when Butler or Valpo or Wichita State or St. John's or
because that was 15 years ago
has been here.
Yeah, because it's been that all that was a long time ago. That was
I haven't seen Callahan full unless it was for a high school game.
Well, but the thing with that, is they're playing 2 games,
sure.
And normally especially if there's 1 or 2 teams from the city there, it's ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Detroit Mercy's issues are not unique to the Horizon League.
No, they're unique to every small private school.
Yeah. And I'm sure the Horizon League is slowly but surely planning to figure out how to ask Detroit Mercy to leave at some point in time, and I doubt it'll actually happen, but I don't think they can leave, but
Given the way the
you never
endowment's
know.
growing,
Yeah.
it wouldn't shock me if they went to the MAAC.
That would not surprise me either because because I know they play lacrosse in that
Yeah.
conference, so it stands to reason that would be that would be kind of a logical step for them. But I don't see them leaving. You're talking probably if they do, you're talking maybe 2 or 3 years away,
I,
maybe.
I mean, if it was 4 years away and you won every game against Oakland, you could even the series back up because it's 10-2.
That's true.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, and a lot of it, you can't even say, well, Oakland had a really good team and we didn't, because wasn't really the case last year. It wasn't really the case the one year we did win with Juwan Howard. Like, yeah, the Bader Felder years, absolutely different, different scenario situation. A lot of it simply is that Oakland executed better against Detroit Mercy than they did against most of the other teams they played that year.
Well, and I think what it comes down to, and I know we've talked a ton about this, we've beaten this horse, but we've been watching
beating it again.
We've been watching the U of M Ohio State football series, and Ohio State's basically saying we just care more. We just want to make sure that we embarrass that team all the time, and we care more. And I think that's really the case with the Oakland Detroit Mercy thing. Is Oakland cares more, and they want to make sure that they always win that game, and it's important to them. And so far, so good. But I don't want to see Detroit Mercy go, but I think it would make a lot of sense. I wouldn't be mad about it, honestly. It would make the most sense, but I don't see it happening.
No, but at the same time, does it help that we're adding IPFW, who just got wrecked by a Horizon League team this week?
Yep.
And then IUPUI looks more like a dumpster fire than Detroit Mercy does.
Yes.
I don't know if I would call losing by 13.
Cleveland State a dumpster fire or a trash barrel fire?
I think we can downgrade that to trash barrel fire. They won. I'm happy they won 3 3 game. The fact that they won 3 games in the non-conference is 3 more than I thought they were going to win. So I'm upgrading them to trash barrel fire.
Hey, fun fact about Fort Wayne. Since we're starting to keep track of them. Obviously, they lost to UIC by 13.
Yes, Clarkson.
The game before that, Fort Wayne beat Eastern Illinois, who just embarrassed Green Bay. So, Fort Wayne's okay. I'm not mad about it.
I like Fort Wayne as a basketball team. I like Fort Wayne's program better than I do IUPUI.
And they play
IUPUI never makes. The only reason we're even talking about IUPUI is because I keep saying this. I've said this ever since we restarted the podcast. That IUPUI was a panic ad, and they're not adding anything other than the fact that they're down the street from the Horizon League offices. That's basically about it. And then you you throw another log on the fire when you get Cameron Justice transferring to Western Kentucky. By the way, a lot of good he did against Wright State. They lost. And then you get Jason Gardner, who apparently doesn't believe in Uber or Lyft when he's out on the town.
This day and age, how? I mean, come on, folks.
We're still talking about that too. It's like we've been talking about that since August, and it's like, how is that even possible? It's Indianapolis. They got a lot of play. They definitely got a lot of play. The ride sharing, the taxi companies, they do exist in that town.
I mean,
laziness.
Bringing it all back around. Horizon got embarrassed yesterday, primarily and really this whole week by the MAC. I mean, we still have. I mean, we're recording Sunday afternoon. We have Northern Kentucky, Eastern Kentucky tonight. That should be a win for Northern Kentucky.
That absolutely should be a win. I mean, let's face it. I mean, Cleveland State handled Eastern Kentucky beat them pretty handily. I'm pretty sure that's the one that they. Yeah, that's. Was it Eastern Kentucky they won by double digits? I believe it was. Now that I'm thinking about it. So I think the way Northern Kentucky's set up, they should have no problem dispatching Eastern Kentucky. But you never know. I mean,
all I'm saying is Horizon had a bad.
The way things have been going, I'm not so sure.
I take Oakland's week as resident Oakland guy. I take Oakland's week actually as a pretty good positive. Western Michigan was a good win for us. Yeah. And while I don't like that we lost to Bowling Green yesterday, the fact that we were up with 90 seconds left in the game, we just couldn't close. I'll take that from a young team that's still figuring some stuff out. I'll accept that at least. And Bowling Green's a a pretty good team this year. They're
Bowling Green's
7-2 or something
solid.
like that, you know.
Bowling Green's a
But
pretty solid
overall,
team. Yeah.
just a terrible week for the league. And I mean, we knew that was going to happen, but you hate to see it.
Oh, you really do. It's just and it's. I mean the only team that had a good had a really good week was UIC. I mean, they lost to Florida Atlantic by 1, by the way. But then they turned around and beat San Diego and then beat Fort Wayne. I mean, those teams aren't going to set the world on fire, but maybe it reverses maybe it's kind of reverses the chaos at UIC or not. Who knows?
Are we looking at and this will be my last thing before I go, guys, but are we looking at the Horizon League at best, even if Wright State's got a good year in conference and wins, Northern Kentucky has a good year in conference play and wins? You think we're a 16th seed in the tournament this year with how bad it's going?
I think they're still at worst of 15. I don't think we're in play-in territory just yet.
No,
it's and again the way that Wright State and Northern Kentucky have played this year, and I'm really super surprised about Northern Kentucky right now. They're playing much better, and Dantes Walton is just an absolute beast, and he's kind of when Jalen Tate comes back, and those guys are sitting on the court. I mean, that's gonna be a tough out for any Horizon League team.
I can't. You say you're surprised, Bob. I'm the one on record as having them as like the 7 or 8 seed this year. So
that's right. I remember that.
That was my. I didn't see it. I still don't understand why they're winning, but I can't take it from them. They are winning and they look good. I don't get it.
They really do. Yeah, but and with Wright State, when they get loud enough back, now they have Grant Basile. And by the way, I think we pretty much we mispronounced his name all last episode.
Sorry.
My bad. I think I said it correctly once. But yeah, Grant Basile has absolutely been. I look at him and he's like, I'm thinking like, man, does your mom know you were playing basketball? He looks. I feel like old now because these guys, there's so many baby-faced assassins on this in the Horizon League right now. It's making me feel super old. But yeah, this guy. I mean, Basile goes up against Charles Bassey for Western Kentucky, and Charles Bassey, for anybody who knows who Charles Bassey is, he's a solid guy. I mean, he's a monster. And, I mean, I'm pretty sure he's also a pro prospect, too. And Basile went toe-to-toe with that guy, and thanks to him, and he was a really big part of that win against Western Kentucky. That's huge. And then now you have him and Loudon Love. I think they found the way he's been playing. I definitely think they found a replacement for Parker Ernsthausen, who graduated last year. Definitely, without a doubt.
It's a solid team, top to bottom. I mean, the only reason I didn't know how to pronounce his name, by the way, is I refuse to watch Wright State games anytime they're at home because I hate their announced team so much. I actively choose not to watch it. So
I have never understood that. See, I don't understand that one. I've never gotten the visceral hatred for the announced team for Wright State. I'm okay with it. I can tolerate it. I'm not in the, and you're not alone. There are so many people.
Old cowboy coach guy, I can't do it. I can't.
Old cowboy coach guy. Oh man, no, I don't get it. I mean, you're not alone, Matt. I mean, there's a lot of Horizon League fans who absolutely refuse to listen to the game because of that.
It's too bad because I'd like to watch Wright State, but I won't be able to until they're in conference. Like when they're on the road, I'll watch them, but I can't watch their home games.
Yeah. So, all right, Karic, obviously, I know you're going to go, so...
Yep, take care, guys.
Karic_Jones on Twitter, and, check out his stories on HorizonRoundtable.com.
Yep, I have some new content out this week, probably Tuesday or Wednesday.
All right. We'll hold you to that. But, yeah, I seriously don't understand the entire thing with the Wright State announced team. And maybe it's because we've got, because we've been spoiled on, Oakland's got Neil Rule, who's awesome. Cleveland State's got Al Pulowski. I really like him. and then you get to Wright State, and it's almost a universal hatred of the guys,
It's
and
over.
I mean,
It's
I don't understand it myself, really.
I can't. Your home announce team. Yeah, they're gonna know things about the team. They're gonna be fans of the team generally. I get that.
Yeah.
But the over the top homerism, the speaking patterns, all I just can't do any of it. I can't handle. Last night I was listening to Neil on the radio. I was driving during the second half of the Oakland game, and at one point it sounded like there was a pretty weak call on Oladapo, and Neil was just. I can't believe this, but at the same time, so yeah, he's an Oakland guy, but it's not so over the top that you can't handle. I know some people can't stand Neil's, of course, call, but outside of that, that's just a solid broadcast, and that's what I've come to expect. And when I watch Wright State, I just want to mute it and watch Neil, and that's usually what I end up doing.
Yeah,
because I usually will choose to watch a game if I can, even if I have to deal with
I get it,
but no, I can't do those guys. I can't.
And like I said, you're not alone. I mean, I've never had any issues, but it's whatever. So they're not going anywhere. I'd love to, naturally love to get, naturally we'd love to get but that's Wright State's call. So grin and bear it, I guess. Put the TV on mute and call it a day, I guess.
It's fine. I'm sure they're wonderful people. I'd love to get them on and talk with them. I'm sure they're great people. I just struggle during the broadcast.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So they'll talk to me. They'll probably be like, "What the hell's wrong with you, man?"
Most people are trying to wonder what the hell's wrong with me. It's common. Like me, no one likes me. It's fine. I like it that way.
No, well, that's okay. Well, you're
polarizing.
Maybe. I don't know. So yeah, it's amazing that I've become I've become I sound like I'm the one who sounds like the voice of reason on this podcast. That's not what was supposed to happen when me and Jimmy started this. I wasn't supposed to be
started this. There was no way that Jimmy was going to be the voice of reason, so it had to be you by default.
Dear God, I don't understand that.
Jimmy is a lot of things. Voice of reason,
no,
is on the resume.
No, well, I don't know. I have kind of gone off the deep end on a couple of occasions, but whatever. Okay. Doesn't matter. So,
well, what's in store for us next week? I haven't looked at the Horizon schedule for the week. Have you? Are we done with this Horizon Mac destroying?
No, we had no. Detroit Mercy has Notre Dame to look forward to, though.
Oh, that'll go well.
Have fun with that. Yeah, and then Green Bay's at Milwaukee's at Kansas. Have fun with that, guys.
I know Oakland's off all week until Saturday.
Everybody. Yeah, they basically. Yeah, most of the, with the exception of Detroit, IUPUI is playing a non-Division I team. Let's cross our fingers that they win that one. But by and large, I think Northern Kentucky, they play tonight. We're obviously going to be posting this on Sunday, but they're playing on Sunday night, and everybody else is pretty much off for finals week, I would assume.
You ready for this? I'm going to make this prediction. Now it's going to be out there.
Oh no!
Oakland plays Michigan State on Saturday at Little Caesars Arena.
Yeah.
Oakland's going to keep it within 5. And I'm going to say they're going to do it. They're going to finally get their Michigan State win. Michigan State's playing poorly right now, and I like where Oakland's at. Ooh, and I think Oakland's going to do it and watch them lose by 30 because I said it out loud, and that's fine.
All right. Well,
there it is.
We'll hold you to that.
It's in the universe in case I get it right.
There you go. So there you go. There's Matt is calling the shot for Oakland to close out the podcast. So. We'll go ahead and wrap things up with that bold prediction. Again, as always, you can find episodes of the Horizon Roundtable on horizonroundtable.com. And as Karic mentioned, he's going to be posting up stuff this week as well, and I'm sure John Parker will as well, and maybe some other people. Who knows?
Where's Pierce? I want that OU content.
I don't know. Good question. I mean, he's busy with the school paper, I assume.
Give me that content, Pierce.
You can also find episodes of the Horizon Roundtable on any podcast app. I mean, we're everywhere. And then you can come on. You can use your Amazon or Google devices and pull us up. And it's pretty easy. Can't miss us. So that should do it. And thank you guys for listening.